Hello everyone, I'm Phillips from McIntyre Dick. Hope we're all keeping safe in these crazy times. Today, as part of McIntyre Dick's Business Unusual series, I'm going to talk to you about putting together a business continuity cash plan. The big thing to business's survival going forward from here is cash. At the end of the day, cash is king. It is a business's oxygen. The more cash a business has, the more easier it is to breathe and survive. So the challenge for everyone is to keep the cash flowing into the business whilst also trying to minimise the cash that's leaking out. So I believe focusing on the cash provides businesses with a good opportunity here to create a new normal for their business going forward. I also believe that this situation also provides an opportunity for businesses to create long-lasting business relationships, whether that's with their bank, whether it's with suppliers or customers. All of us are in this together, and we all need to share in the pain some way. And if we can create these key relationships, it'll provide future benefits for your business. The first step in putting together a business continuity cash plan is for the business owners or the shareholders to either revise their own personal budget or actually put together a personal budget. I'm a big believer that if businesses are going to ask for others to share in the pain, the business owners actually need to make some sacrifices first. So they need to look at their own personal budget, look at what spending they can cut personally, so that they can then reduce their drawings, their salaries, or their dividends. One of the first steps to look at with your business continuity cash plan is your customers. You need to identify your top customers and understand what impacts COVID-19 has had on their business and what the flow-on effects will be to your business. You need to understand, does that mean that future work you have is going to be cancelled? Is it going to be deferred? Or is it going to be business as usual? Also, when talking to your customers, talk to them about the issues you're having with the supply chain. Does this mean that there'll be delay in meeting their demands? And what you need to do is communicate that early. I believe communication is the key in these times, so as everybody understands what's going on, when it's going to happen, so as everyone can be understanding of the situation. You should also, when speaking to your customers, ask them if they need any assistance from you. Is there anything you're doing that you could help them in their business? Share the experiences you're going through and what actions you've put in place to help your business. Going forward, you should start thinking about whether you should be asking for deposits up front on any jobs you are doing to ensure that you're getting some money in the event that that customer cannot pay at the end of the day once the job is finished. This also means you also need to think about whether you should be registering a security over your goods and services when they're sold on credit. In terms of overdue debts, you should follow up these very promptly to ensure things do not get out of hand. And also talk to those customers if they are overdue, what you can do in terms of renegotiating payment terms. You need to make sure you have very solid debt collection processes in place in your business. So if you don't have those, you just need to start working on those now. After customers, you need to think about your key suppliers. Once again, with customers, it's looking at what's the impact of COVID-19 on their business and what's the flow-on effect onto your business. You need to find out, are there issues in the supply chain, which means there's going to be delays in you receiving materials from your suppliers. If that's the case, or you can't get materials, you need to start thinking about what are the alternatives for getting your materials. Talk to your suppliers. If they've got very strict payment terms, can you renegotiate those to extend them to ease your cash flow? Look at your stock. Are you overstocked at the moment? See if there's the opportunity to return that stock and get the cash back into your business. Obsolete stock, if it's going nowhere, think about discounting it just to get some cash in the door to help things. Financiers, I think they're a very important part of your business, and you need to be working alongside them very closely, keeping them in the picture as to the impact on your business, where the issues may be. The last thing a financier wants is a surprise. So speak to your financiers early, talk to them about renegotiating payment terms, see if you can go into interest only, or if you can go on a repayment holiday. The borders aren't shut for repayment holidays, which is good, unlike other borders for holidays. Products and services, you need to start looking at these to see if there's an opportunity to change processes in how you put together your goods and services, to see if you can reduce rework, errors and wastage to put more profit back into your business. Also look at your goods and services. Are there any that are actually unprofitable and they're actually drawing cash out of your business? Consider whether you should discontinue these. The big thing with lockdown is people have had to look to an online presence for selling their goods and services. So you need to think, are you able to get your goods and services online so that people are able to access those even though we are in lockdown? Start thinking about, are there other goods and services you can start providing to your customers that you currently aren't doing, which is quite easy to implement. It's all about diversifying and thinking a wee bit more innovatively from what you have been in the past. We are not in the normal that we were 6 weeks ago. Plant and equipment. You need to look at the plant and equipment you've got. Do you have any surplus plant and equipment? If so, look to sell it to get some cash in the door. CapEx, it's probably one of the bigger areas of spending in a business. You need to consider, is there any non-essential CapEx in your business that you need to defer or put off? Leases. If you're leasing property, vehicles, etc., look at those leases. Is there a clause in the lease that allows you to reduce your rent if you don't have access to the premises or the goods? Talk to your landlords about whether it's possible to get a rent reduction or a rent holiday. There's a lot of talk out there at the moment that some landlords are being tough. Well, if that is the case, consider whether you can put a carrot in front of them in order for them to give you that rent relief. You may need to consider negotiating to extend your lease in return for a reduction in your rent or a holiday. Think about your floor space that you've got. Do you have surplus to requirements? If so, can you sublease it and get an additional income stream coming into your business? Staffing. I believe this is one of the key assets of a business, and we need to be very careful during these times that we don't take knee-jerk reactions to make staff redundant. It could be that the surplus requirements at the moment, but 2 or 3 months you actually need them. There's no point making a knee-jerk reaction now that's going to cause issues for you down the line. I believe it should be one of a business's last resort is to start making staff redundant, because at the end of the day it will impact on your reputation out there in the marketplace. So please try and persevere with the staff that you have for as long as you can. If you do need to start negotiating salary and wages or any of your other entitlements, remember that you need to negotiate with your staff. COVID-19 does not give an employer a right just to automatically reduce an employee's entitlements. It requires negotiation between the employee and employer. If you don't do this, it may end up being an additional cash cost to you down the track due to a personal grievance. If you do need to take action with around staff entitlements, start thinking, can you reduce hours? Can you freeze pay increases or incentive schemes and staff benefits as an interim measure to get you through this tough time? Overheads. All businesses have lots of overheads, whether it's power, insurance, internet, advertising, travel, and so forth. what you need to do is go through all of these different items of expenditure line by line, understanding what makes up those items. Are they actually a necessary requirement in your business? Do they add value? And if you don't, look at cutting those immediately. Government assistance. You need to start looking at all the government assistance that is out there at the moment. Have you applied for what you can? Are you entitled to something that you weren't aware of? There's the wage subsidies. Hopefully you've all applied for them so far. Something you need to consider is that business owners, if they're a working owner in the business, they're entitled to the wage subsidy as well. So have you applied for yourself? There's been a number of tax changes that the government has implemented to help cash flow. Personally, I believe that the government's really just tinkering at the edges with these tax changes, and they really aren't going to make a big difference to a business cash flow at the end of the day. But there will be some that will have some impact along the lines there. One of those tax changes is the ability for the Inland Revenue to remit interest and penalties if you pay your tax late due to the fact your cash flow has been impacted by COVID-19. So something you need to think about as well, if you've got tax payments coming up, provisional tax, GST, whatever tax it is there the ability for you to defer that later on and have the ability to have any interest or penalties written off on those. There's the government guaranteed business finance scheme, which is through the banks where you can apply for financing, but the government will guarantee that to the extent of 80%. To date, we have seen very little uptake in that, and the government's view is that the banks are not working with small businesses to make this accessible to them. As a result of that, the government have now introduced their own loan scheme. It's a small business cash flow loan scheme, which is going to be administered by Inland Revenue, where the government will actually provide a loan to businesses to help them get through. That's not coming in until next week, but it's something that you do need to start consider. But I'd add caution. If you're looking to defer payments or you're looking to borrow more to get you through these tough times, remember those amounts still need to be paid at the end of the day. You need to understand, is there going to be the profitability in your business over the next few years in order to have the cash available to repay those tax payments or those loans? So I've given you a number of pieces of the puzzle that you need to consider about improving your cash position. So it's what do you do now with those pieces of puzzles you've got? Well, it's about putting those pieces of puzzles together to create a cash forecast for your business, so you can understand where the cash position of your business is heading and whether the changes that you are looking at implementing, whether they are viable at the end of the day. If it transposes that the changes that you've considered still does not make your business viable, you need to go back to the start. Start looking at all those categories again. Where else can you cut expenditure? Where else can you get some cash flowing into the business? All of this is a very daunting prospect for businesses during these tough times, and it's very stressful for everyone. But McIntyre Dick, we've got your back. We're here to help you through this, whether it's to help you look at where you can free up cash, whether it's to put together cash forecasts, whether it's to help you apply for finance, or whether it's anything else related to business to help you moving forward. We're here for you. The government also has got your back in this situation, as they've now got funding available for eligible businesses to obtain one-on-one advice for services around freeing up cash, cash flow, cash forecast, financing applications. And McIntyre Dick has been approved to provide these services. So there is the ability for some businesses to get hold of this funding, to get us involved, to ease the burden on you. The funding is being administered through Great South, formerly Venture Southland. So look, if you do need help, please pick up the phone and call us. Talk to us so we can help you out, and we can work with you to ensure that you keep the oxygen going in your business and put all the pieces of the puzzle together.